Good morning. Welcome to the Board of Public Works and Safety. Today is November the 6th. We're recording and streaming this live on City of Madison YouTube channel, and you can also view it in archive. Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Mr. Carlo?
Here.
Mayor Courtney?
Here.
Mr. Eaglin?
Here.
Board, have you had an opportunity to review the minutes from the October 16th meeting? If so, we'll approve those.
I make a motion we approve the minutes as printed.
I'll second Carl's motion.
Any discussion? Comments or questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Moving on to claims.
Mayor, I've had an opportunity to review the claims. We've got a document here, 34 pages of $2,338,098.02. And I'll make a motion that the claims be approved as submitted.
I'll second David's motion.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. No adjustments, so we'll move on to new business. Brian, you here for the SRF disbursements?
Yes, we have a couple SRF disbursements today, 43 and 44. 43 is for Commonwealth Engineers. It's 3 invoices totaling $62,320.92. The amount of the SRF disbursement request 43 will be $62,321. We also have SR requests number 44 for Brackney Incorporated for their pay app number 8 for the water main replacements. The total amount of the invoice is $304,692. The amount of retainage we'll be keeping out of that will be $15,234, leaving the amount for the disbursement of $289,458. And that's the only two disbursement requests I have today that will.
Okay, you want to handle the change order separately?
Yes, I think we should approve it
Okay.
separately, don't you, Joe?
Okay. Before we get into this, let's, well, let me go ahead and move, and then we'll have a discussion about a move that we approve the SRF request number 43 and 44. Do I have a second?
I'll second the mayor's motion.
And I have a question for you, which is just generally an overview of the status of the 3 phases of the project, and particularly Division C, which is a lot of the underground work.
I can focus
Yep.
on C. As you know, mostly completed to date is the East Street upgrades, the Sunrise Addition, with the exception for some surface restoration in Sunrise. The Hillcrest Drive area is mostly finished. It is almost entirely finished. The Franks Drive water line and services are all in. There's still some surface restoration left to be done there. And then the Flint Street drill under the creek over there has been completed.
Wow, good.
So the remaining to be done is the Flint Street water main needs to be installed, and all the services need to be installed over there. The golf course drill still needs to be done. And then, like I said a minute ago, the Sunrise and Franks Drive, the final restoration, most of that stuff needs to be done.
Is the boring under the golf course been scheduled for?
It
the
was,
Sunrise?
but it was postponed, so
Okay.
and I'm glad because they were playing golf this week, so.
Yeah. Well, we've
I'd
got
rather
good
do
weather
it
for
when
that.
they're totally off the golf course.
Okay.
But I think it's scheduled to be done this month because they're targeting, Brackney's targeting being finished with everything by the end of this year, so.
Okay, good.
What area of the golf course, is it still stay the same, or they changed their?
No, it's the same.
Same.
It's basically from Sunrise to where,
It's going to come off of Fairway, that little street there.
yeah, I don't know if
over
I
across.
think that's the 16th fairway.
15th.
15th.
Is it 15th? I don't play enough golf.
It's the Carl
obviously.
Eaglin Memorial Fairway.
Yeah, you would know better than I don't play golf very much, so, and it's gonna be bored, so really, there should be a minor intrusion really to the golf course. Other than some equipment being there, and at this time of the year, there's fewer and fewer people playing golf, so.
Yeah. And I was looking at all of this yesterday, and there was an area that we were trying to improve the drainage on at that intersection at Hillcrest and is that Meadow?
Right, we discussed that at our last construction
Is
meeting.
that
That's on their list. They're
still on
doing
the
it
list?
with the repaving, with the repairs of the drive.
Okay,
We're trying to do something where we can include it into the project so that we have another comp. They're gonna do it, you know, when we repair a drive, they have an hourly with materials and
Yep.
everything. They're gonna use the same criteria when they do that.
Okay.
So that we know what we're
just
gonna
want to
be
make sure
doing.
that was still on our radar,
It
because
is.
it's a good opportunity to improve the drainage there where that's been changed
And
from
it-
some
it's-
prior
it's
work.
It's been grouted out some,
Yeah.
and it's draining, but it just needs to be, that needs to be taken out because it's falling apart and concrete put in its place.
Okay,
But that is still on there.
awesome, glad to hear it. Board, any other questions for Brian on the two draw requests or the status of either of the divisions of the water project? Any comments or questions? There was a motion on we've already made a motion to approve it, so all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Aye. Thank you.
Now we need to go over
I
the
did not
change
register it
order.
as an opposed, I registered it as aye. I do approve. And now we'll go to the change order.
Yes, this is change order number one for Division A, which is Dave O'Meara Contracting, and the total amount of the change order is $19,320.69. And you've got the details in your packet there. It basically, we're doing some rewinding of the west end booster pump, additional pairs in addition to what we were planned on doing, because they found issues once they got into it. Then there's a 12-inch pressure regulating valve, material cost increase that we weren't planning on getting, but we decided to go ahead and get it. And then the JPG paved access road. That initially was just going to be gravel, but we need to get equipment in and out of there on wheels, chlorine and fluoride. So, and 15,000 was really, really reasonable.
And that is right down here off of Main Street, correct? That
Correct, it's on the way to, I
Plant
think it's
there.
the Elks
Yeah.
Club now.
Yeah, on the way to the Elks.
Yes.
Is it the
it's
brown
on-
building on the left?
It's this.
Is it the very last one before you get to the pickleball courts?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the Madison State Hospital DOC building is right next to ours. They have a well field also. But, yeah. And that helps us, and it's 19,000, which is really reasonable. As change orders go.
Right.
Well, I think it says something that we're this far into the project and this is the first change order.
Yes, yeah.
So-
Now, the only other thing that they probably will be asking for is additional time, because they, like I said, Division A was mostly the treatment plant and electrical and a lot of that thing, and they're having a lot of trouble getting product, materials. And, I don't even think they have received some of the materials yet, so, and we've talked about that at several of our construction meetings, and we're well aware that the time request, which will be a change order, but not a monetary change order.
Yeah, I see some of the notes here that some of the equipment's not expected to arrive until first quarter of
Yes.
next year.
Yeah,
so,
and there's, I mean, there's nothing we can do about that.
Yeah,
They can't either, so, but we knew that going in. They told us that when they first bid long ago. But, yeah, I think we need an approval of the change order, and I will get it submitted, because the SRF will also have to approve this change order once you guys approve this
Right.
change order.
I move that we approve the change order number one for Division A, water utility improvements.
I'll second that motion.
Any comments or discussion? Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Brian, we're still working through the issue with the tower at the state hospital, is that correct? So there, we are still expecting a change order on
The million-gallon tanks, not the tower, the tanks.
Oh, million-gallon tanks, okay.
Yes, that's gonna be a
Still working
change
through that.
order to, yes, and they've gotten us a price, they've gotten a price to Commonwealth, but they haven't gotten it to us because they hash out with the contractor before bringing it to us. And that's been going on for months, because I think that's gonna be a big change order. The ceiling in one of the million-gallon tanks is deteriorating and failing.
Yeah.
So it structurally needs repaired, but,
Yeah, I'm glad we're able to do it as part of this and take care of it, because it's been, it's an important, tank for us. Any other questions, Brian?
thanks.
Thank you, Brian. All right, moving on to, I'll turn it over to Joe.
on the agenda is resolution number 2023-50B. Resolution of the Board of Public Works and Safety of the City of Madison, Indiana, establishing a handicap parking space for the residents located at 512 East Vaughn Drive. Whereas there's been a request filed by Diana P. Summers that the parking space be established as a handicap parking for her residents located at 512 East Vaughn Drive, Madison, Indiana. The residence is located on the northwest corner of Vaughn Drive and St. Michael's Avenue. The applicant requests that a handicap parking space be located on St. Michael's Avenue between the alley and Vaughn Drive under the maple tree. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Public Works and Safety of the City of Madison, Indiana, that Section 1, a parking space located at St. Michael's Avenue between the alley of Vaughn Drive and under the maple tree is hereby established as a handicap parking adjacent to the residence located at 512 East Vaughn Drive, Madison, Indiana, so long as Diana P. Summers is resident thereof. This parking space shall be accessible to any person legally authorized to park there. Upon such time as Diana P. Summers moves from said residence, said parking space shall then revert to regular parking. The City of Madison Street Department is hereby authorized to erect such signs and other traffic control devices may be necessary to implement the intent of this resolution. This resolution will become immediately effective upon its adoption by the Board of Public Works and Safety, signature of the mayor, enrollment in the book of resolutions, publication as noticed as required by law.
Good morning, Chief.
Good morning, Board. Thank you, Mr. Jenner. Yeah, Ms. Summers has filed the application request. She does meet all the requirements, including a handicap placard, and is of the understanding that it is open to anyone that may meet those standards to park in a handicap spot. Some of the issues I think maybe arise from obviously the hotel doing so well down there that there's times in which she has trouble finding a parking space. I've checked the area. There are none in that area, so it's definitely my recommendation to respectfully ask this board to approve Ms. Summers' application.
I make a motion we approve the resolution, 2023-50B.
My only question, Chief,
I'll second that. Let's go to questions.
my only question is the maple tree, is it the southernmost tree closest to Vaughn Drive, or is it the second
is.
tree?
Yeah, no, I think it's the southernmost tree.
There's
but
two
it's,
trees there.
yeah.
To Dave to know.
But, as far as maple trees go, it's a nice one, and I'd want to park underneath of it too, especially when it's hot out, but.
Well, the southernmost tree closest to
Yeah.
Vaughn Drive, that is the first parking space
yeah.
next to the house, so that
I
makes sense.
appreciate when
That
people
makes sense to
submit
have that spot
applications that they put some landmarks down, so we know exactly where they want it, but.
I'm happy we're able to help Mrs. Summers, but she does also realize that it's still public parking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, it's not reserved
Correct.
parking for her, it's
Yeah.
reserved for her as well as those that may need some assistance that qualify as a handicap.
Yes, ma'am, that's
Yeah,
true.
Yeah, good.
Somebody's calling me on purpose, probably just make my phone go off.
Probably Jeremy.
See if I got it.
Jeremy's probably doing that.
You, Jan. No, I'm just kidding. All right.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments or questions? Any additional discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, Board.
Chief, thank you.
Thank you.
The next is resolution number 2023-51B, a resolution of the Board of Public Works and Safety of the City of Madison, Indiana, for the purpose of accepting transfer of certain real property to the City of Madison, Indiana. Whereas Madison Plaza Group LLC has determined that certain real property, namely the roadway known as Sunrise Crossing Boulevard, is now to be transferred to the City of Madison to allow for public traversing on said street. Said real property is in Jefferson County, Indiana, is more particularly described as follows, and the legal description is there as follows. And whereas the City of Madison Board of Public Works believes that the Madison Plaza Group LLC has substantially completed the terms outlined in the previously executed economic development agreement that were required prior to the acceptance of said roadway. Whereas the Board of Public Works and Safety believes it is in the best interest of the City of Madison, Indiana, to accept said transfer. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Public Works and Safety of the City of Madison as follows. Number one, that the Board of Public Works and Safety hereby approves the conveyance of the real estate more particularly described as follows from the Madison Plaza Group LLC to the City of Madison, Indiana. That the Board of Public Works and Safety of the City of Madison hereby directs the mayor of the City of Madison to execute all documents necessary to effectuate the transfer of the above described real estate to the City of Madison, Indiana. And This resolution shall become in full force and effect from and after its adoption by the Board of Public Works and Safety of the City of Madison.
Thank you.
Good evening, good morning.
Well,
Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. We are asking for your conveyance and acceptance of that parcel. We've had our city engineer, JTL, has reviewed that, construction of that, as well as did a final inspection on that a couple weeks ago. The letter is attached as a part of your documents, and so we would ask for that to be accepted at this time. There are a couple minor punch list items that are being worked through, and I'm confident will be completed here in the due order. We are, if you remember, as a part of that EDA, we will be holding back some dollars until that punch list items are complete.
Well, I'm very pleased to see that we're at this point. After literally 15 months of construction, we now have all 4 of the national retailers open at the shops at Sunrise Crossing. And part of the deal was the boulevard, and it's under construction. Beautiful. If you've been up there, you'll see the lighting, you'll see the Christmas decorations, the public artwork that's being installed today, and just a beautiful work that's creating a destination around that area. So thank you, Tony, and your team for, as well as our developer partners and the retailers, for getting us to this point. It's a big step.
And I would have to say our development partners and their
Yep.
contractors have been very easy to work with and have been very open to the items that have been identified to be repaired or replaced, and they've done that without question. So
Tony, the other day we were talking about the statistics of traffic to the shops, and the most recent data we have was at about 225,000 visits to the shops at Sunrise Crossing so far as it's sequentially opened.
yes, so our data has
That's
showed
great.
us a point of interest. We've created a point of interest for the shops at Sunrise Crossing. So since the opening of Five Below, there's been about 84,000 visitors through last week, and they've averaged 2.7 visits or something to that effect. So we've had about 225,000 people visit the shops at Sunrise Crossing. The data also tells us that those people are just not coming for those shops. They are actually going to other shops within the community and other restaurants within the community. So we can see where they're coming from, and we can see where they go after the shops at Sunrise Crossing. So we're real pleased with the data, and as we continue to track that data, it will help us in attracting other establishments to that
And they're
area.
coming from a pretty broad geographic area.
Yeah, they are. They're coming from as far away as Greensburg and Batesville, Seymour, Columbus, and then into Kentucky as far down as Perry Park and Owenton, Warsaw, and then in Indiana, all the way from Lawrenceburg and Aurora and Rising Sun. So we're seeing a really good southeastern Indiana draw as we had hoped, and northern Kentucky.
Very pleased with it. Looks great. Well, I'll move that we approve Resolution 2023-51B.
I'll second that motion.
And just as a note, there's also a letter in here from our engineers who have received the request for the roadway transfer, and they concur with the recommendation.
They do.
Subject to some punch list things, which we've met with the developer and talked about. Any additional discussion? Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is Nicole here? Dewey, Nicole and Dewey. We are going to now give you an update on our blight elimination strategies. One of my favorite topics to talk about, because for the last 4 years we've been working very hard to improve the beauty of Madison, and we've done that through a lot of incentives, and then also many of the unnecessary code enforcements that have taken place. So Dewey, give us an update.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Yes, I have been working hard at this. I thought we'd start with my nuisance cases. We'll go into some neglected properties, unsafe structures, some zoning issues that we've seen. We'll talk about a few things going forward, and then Nicole will update you on some pace as well. it's hard to see. Can we zoom into that too much, can I? Thanks for being patient. What this table represents is the total number of cases I'm seeing, or last year versus this year to date. The total case number on the very bottom is skewed. It does not include, in the rows, it does not include the unsafe, about 112 unsafe structures that we've identified. So we'll go through each of these. No, it's okay. No, I think that's good. Thank you. So we'll go through each of these. You'll see a marked increase in the very top row there, abandoned inoperable vehicles that I've seen, primarily on private property. A few the chief and his folks have helped out with on the streets. But yeah, there's a marked increase in the number of abandoned and inoperable vehicles that I've seen. Grass and weeds are roughly about the same, especially when it comes to a year-end number, will probably be right about the same. Same with unclean and disorderly premises, neglected properties, trash, junk, and fire hazards, other. So you can see year-to-date, we are down, total cases, again, that includes unsafe structures, 33%. So I think what we're doing, what I'm doing is having an impact.
Well, let's pause back there for just a second.
Sure, sorry.
Because you are having an impact, and we're showing here that total cases are a little over 750 in about an 18-month period. Is that correct?
Yes.
And it's down about a third when cause you had a first full year in 2022. So it was a big attack year.
Yes.
And then now as we're educating and dealing with the neglected properties, I'm glad that the universe is falling, which means we're dealing with that. I'm just really interested that the abandoned vehicles is so high, and as we talked about earlier, those are just the ones we know, and there's probably still more out there that haven't yet been identified that's brought into a case management.
Sure. No, absolutely.
I can tell you, folks, if you'd seen pictures from just a couple of years ago where we started this initiative, there was a lot of abandoned vehicles around town, and I mean there was a lot of properties that were trashing up our community. I'm glad you've tacked those, but also statistically, and you might get into this, the abatement of these cases. Talk a little bit about how the cases are abated.
Yes, so I didn't include that, and thanks, Mayor, for that. So abatement is, I would say 75% owner abated versus 25% that we're doing as a city. So I believe that we are having, I try to do some outreach and different things and educate folks, and yeah, owner abatement is clearly there.
Good.
From the city.
I have a question about the abandoned vehicles.
Yes, sir.
Are those vehicles that are off the street, or they're like sitting in yards?
Primarily, yes. There's been a few, and again, the chief and his folks have helped out with those on the street.
Yeah.
But yes,
Okay.
there are some pictures here that I'll show you, but
There are rules for both. If it's on a public street or viewable from a public street on private property, they have different rules, but
right.
nonetheless, they need to be dealt with, particularly if they're inoperable abandoned vehicles, unfortunately.
Yep.
They need to be stored somewhere else.
Okay. So this just represents a total 2022 versus 2023 total cases, which includes the unsafe structures versus the nuisance caseload. So as we said earlier, we are down roughly 33% when including unsafe structures. Just nuisance cases, we're down 43% year to date from last year.
That's great.
Some of the things that I'm seeing as I'm going around, this is common, whether folks moving out of a residence or just being unclean. disorderly. I see this daily. Picture on the left represents obviously tall grass. I should have had the ruler in there. We have a little tool that we use for 12 inches or higher, but I think that represents itself. I see this too on the right, just random, this is on Main Street,
Yeah,
Main
I remember seeing that.
Main and East Street. Just random dumping or leaving of items. Again, probably, certainly on a weekly basis. There's a representation of an abandoned vehicle. It's an alleyway near Craigmont and where the Pepperonis are, not far from there. Again, just random trash being left out. Again, maybe someone's moving out, but still, we can't have this. Appliances are very common too, just being left, water heaters, different things of that nature. The picture on the left is from up in the, just off of Craigmont before you get to the First Financial Bank up there. I forget what the cross street is, but just, it's disorderly. We'll talk about neglected and unsafe structures now. Currently on I keep a registry, so to speak, or a list of properties. About 112 structures are either vacant, abandoned, or both. And we're working on, the state ordinance, or the state statute does define those for us. But we're talking about those as well. We have issued demo permits. 8 building permits have been issued. And there are 4 PACE grants in place. Again, those numbers are of the 112 that we have on the list. I figured I'd give you an update on Moody Park, and Joe may have comments too on that. So we're aware, I'm going to go through a timeline here in a second, but these are, again, pictures from the Moody Park area. Camper on the upper right is still there. We're working on that, some trash and some other things. An update to the timeline. Of course, we're aware of the flood that happened in 2021. We went through damage assessment. We did have a citizen complaint after that. At that point, I deemed the property neglected, and then the building inspector got involved and asked the owner to appear with us. We did meet with him. Unauthorized work began on those structures in September of last year. We did issue in February of this year stop work orders. We were successful to get an inspection warrant, which was served, and we made that inspection, at which time they were deemed unsafe by the unsafe building law. More recently, just last month, the
Well, let me
mayor.
stop you right there for a second,
Yes,
because
sir.
there's one date that's not in there, and that was probably in March or April, where the Board of Public Works held a hearing and essentially ratified the order of the building inspector, and then we issued an order to have 7 of the uninhabitable, unsafe mobile home structures down there removed. You might want to add that to the
That's
slide.
correct.
That's a really, really critical
No,
one, because we don't just jump to October, but that started a whole cascade of events that began, I think it was probably in March or April when the Board of Public Works issued that order.
No, you're correct, and
Okay.
that's my error.
No,
You're right.
sorry, I didn't catch that earlier either.
No. So then, yes, in early October, we did meet with Mike Metler, the Director of Environmental Public Health at the state, along with one of his inspectors, Kim Rowe. And at that point, I think it was a good meeting, but what came out of that was a letter sent by the mayor to the director. And then what's happening now is, and maybe Joe can answer, in December, where the case will be heard with Moody Park. And then by the end of the year is the deadline for the issuance of park license.
Yeah, essentially what they've done is, after that hearing, he went out and hired counsel and they've appealed our decision. And the way it works is any decision like that, any decision for like a demolition or whatever made by the board can be appealed and it gets appealed to the court. And so we're just going through that process now. We're going through a series of discovery, depositions and things like that. Hopefully be heard on December the 11th. Been practicing long enough to know that court dates don't always hold true, and so we'll see where we are.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Talk about just a few zoning issues. I see a lot of RVs and campers that folks may or may not be living in, sometimes yes, that should not be there. We did have, you may have seen some others too, there was a storage container, as you see on the left there, up off of Michigan Road. The picture just to the right of that is we were able to finally get that removed. So we were happy about that, but zoning is, there are some bush issues, like at the corner of certain streets, if you can't see around the corner in order to turn. I do have some of those issues. These take a little bit longer to abate, but that's what I'm seeing as far as zoning goes. Going forward, we do expect or hope, and Nicole can probably talk more about this, an additional round of PACE monies for the rehabilitation of the dilapidated and dangerous structures. We are currently reviewing the statutes and ordinances for ways to improve the processes that I have to effectively address some of this stuff. And then also we're hoping to improve the use of fines and penalties to motivate property owners to address the abatement requirements.
I'm happy that 75% of the abatement's been voluntary and the hard labor comes into the 25%.
Yeah.
That's where the heavy lifting is.
Yes, sir.
Any questions for Dewey? Good presentation.
Thank you.
Important initiative. Takes a lot of resources to make a difference in some of these really long-term chronic problems that have been allowed to exist for a really long time all throughout the city.
There was a shed issue, David, where was that?
Oh, it's
Which one?
65 or 75 West 3rd Street, in the alley.
Yes, sir, that's still
It's being held up by bungee cords.
it is.
So, yeah.
That is one of the demo permits that has been issued. I have attempted to make contact, and perhaps a letter from Joe is appropriate, I'm not sure, but I am getting no response from them, but yeah, it is, I've taken pictures as it's progressively gotten worse. But yeah, it's
I
on
know
the radar.
the owner and his representative appeared before the board in December of last year, and
Yeah,
so we're
Yeah.
coming up on a year.
it's been a
and
year.
Still no,
I think we'll continue to make progress on all fronts as we move.
Yes, you did.
yeah.
Yeah, Joe tried to reach out via
Okay.
phone as
I
well.
think as you drive around town and see the improvement, it's visible, so
Very visible.
you're doing a good job, so.
The guy out on Walnut Street that was himself taking down the burned structure, he's doing pretty good with that. 'Cause
Yeah,
that
if
one
you remember
person-
that, he came in when we had that, and we have been patient with him because he is doing it on his own. That's the structure, 1205, 1207 Walnut, just before the garage down there. Yes, he is making progress,
Yeah, yeah.
so,
I like the word progress.
me too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He
Hang in
said-
there with me.
He said it would be slow, but he said he would get it done.
Yeah,
Man, his word.
yeah, hang in there with me, we'll keep at it. Thank you,
Keep up the good work.
thank you.
Thanks, Dewey.
All right, we'll turn the remote over to Nicole Shell to talk about our PACE projects.
Got one midpoint for you, 623 Broadway. There's a small before, but you can see the major progress that's occurred at this property. They did demo and removal of all of the deteriorated materials, and they're working on rebuilding that structure. She has met all of the requirements for her dilapidated structures PACE grant and is asking for the partial disbursement of the $12,500.
I make a motion, we approve the, midpoint disbursement for 623 Broadway.
I'll second that. Any discussion? Just comment on phenomenal. I mean, all the improvement that's happening in that corridor, along with, Gaines Park and the other home improvements is great. And Roger Welch has, completely redone his shop down there. It looks phenomenal. Any other discussion? Any questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks.
Then three finals for you. The first, 103 East Main Street. Their rehabilitation PACE grant included window restorations and some tuck pointing, which was all completed as part of their requirement. I believe they're still going to paint the lower windows, but I'm not 100% sure on that because it wasn't clear in the PACE grant. Before, they were multicolored white lowers, and then second story was also white, but they painted them black. So to be determined on that, but it wasn't included, like I said, in their PACE original. So they're asking for the full disbursement of $7,500.
I'll move it. Oh, go ahead. You have one more or two more?
Two more, yep. The next one, which I didn't have great befores on, was 134 East Main Street. This is Mary Shear Perfections building. Their PACE grant included tuck pointing and painting, which I think they've done a great job here, showing the after with the paint and the tuck pointing. A little less obvious under paint, but it was completed according to their PACE grant, and they're asking for the full disbursement of $7,500. And the last final I have for you is 315 Mill Street, the replacement of 16 windows on this structure. You can see a little bit of the damage there. The seals were starting to rot, the rails were starting to rot, and they couldn't open them. And they've replaced them all with functioning aluminum clad windows, and are asking for the full disbursement of $7,500.
So we'll say all three of these properties renovations look fantastic. And relative to the Ohio Theater, I just want to make a comment that we're about to enter into another substantial phase of restoration of the Ohio Theater. Soon we'll be bringing in bids for approval for the marquee and facade restoration. So that is coming together very nicely.
I'll make a motion, we approve the finals for 103 East Main, 134 East Main, and 315 Mill Street.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion, comments, or questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks. We'll move on to our last one.
Yep, I have one extension for you. This was filed by Catherine Rutherford, the property owner of 423 West Main Street. She's asking for a 12-month extension. That would make her new deadline November 21st, 2024. She's already received part of her money, but she's having some issues with her contractor and the repair to some of the doors. I don't know if it's materials or just timeline on his part, but that's her reasoning.
Another major restoration
Yes.
here. I know that our contribution toward it's $7,500, but that's creating a multiple of that investment on the total restoration of the house for her art studio. Really happy that everybody's taken on these investments.
Is this the first request for an extension?
Yes.
I'll move that we approve the extension request for 423 West Main.
I'll second that motion.
Any discussion, comments, or questions? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Keep up
That's-
the good work, Nicole.
Yep,
Wait,
that's all I had for you. Your next meeting your second meeting next month, you'll have applications for the final round of PACE. We received 6 applications, so they'll have to, the PACE committee will review those next week and score them, and, we'll see what happens.
6 applications of dangerous or dilapidated
Yes.
properties, correct?
Yes,
Awesome.
Great.
thank you.
Thank you. Moving on quickly, I just want to thank everybody who was involved in making last weekend a phenomenal music venue, including the City Hall here. Once a year, we turn it into a music performance venue. Thought Mad Hop was great. The venues were phenomenal. I want to appreciate all the hosts and all the work that went into bringing that pretty cool festival to Madison. We had lots of people in town for that. We are having the downtown open house, which I believe is this Friday, and I think also the city published that the lampposts. You can sponsor a lamppost for throughout the Christmas season, and that's always a fun thing to do. And you've probably already gotten a lot of good response from that, Keely. And the ornaments are on sale. I noticed you mentioned that. The trash, I was reminded that trash is on regular schedule this week. It is on a regular schedule. I do want to let the board know, I believe at the last meeting, we had talked about the winter warming shelter agreement with the Salvation Army. We did finalize that. That's been fully executed, and I believe they've already opened for one cold evening, and they'll continue to work to provide shelter, warming shelter for those in need throughout the course of the winter as the temperatures drop. So I'm really grateful for that work we've done with the Salvation Army. And I think you might have seen too that we closed on our deal for the grocery store with our developer and for the construction of the new DG Market. A lot of great things happening. And Nicole is still not, no, Nicole already left, but we do have a new building inspector. I forgot to ask her to introduce Brian Shaw. He's been here, I think, 2 weeks now, and still working through the orientation process, but we're happy to have that position filled. And then lastly, I'll mention that City Hall is closed tomorrow, so ask everybody to go vote. We'll now open it up. Unless the board here has any comments, we'll open up to public comments. If anybody's here would like to address the Board of Public Works and Safety, it looks like Mindy is coming up to the podium. We'll,
While she's coming to the podium,
Yes.
we continue to have leaf pickup.
lots
Tony?
of leaf pick. And welcome back, Tony. Tony's back.
I just wanted to remind everybody that trash will run on schedule this week, even though we're closed tomorrow.
Oh, I just said that.
Did you say that?
Yeah.
I blanked out.
And then, but while you're here, just give us an
No
update on
excuse not to know it.
CCMG.
Yeah, CCMG is underway. Blackmore Street is where you can see most of the work so far. That's where we started. We have moved some things around so that we can do new curbs and gutters up there. We think that will help with some of the drainage issues they have up there. The driveway approaches are also being replaced because over the years those have gotten paved over, which also made the drainage issues worse. So hopefully we can accomplish a couple things at once by having really nice looking curbs and gutters, but also help the drainage. And we're replacing some sidewalks up there as we can, doing ADA ramps at the corners, and then the road will be paved. And then I believe they're moving over to Craigmont to start working over there.
Fantastic. And then downtown will probably be in the spring.
Probably in
That's
the
part
spring,
of this phase.
Yes.
Good deal. Any questions for Mindy?
Thanks, Mindy.
Thank you. Anybody else here would like to address the Board of Public Works and Safety? Now would be the time. Just come up, identify yourself, name and address, and we'll be happy to listen to your remarks.
Mayor, I've noticed we've got a guest in the back, a four-legged guest.
Oh, yes. All are welcome here.
Is he a new addition?
I've had him since May. He's a shelter dog.
Happy to partner with Jefferson County on the shelter, since you mentioned that. All my pets are rescue animals, and we did increase our budget quite substantially this year to continue to invest in the shelter operation. Anything else?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second?
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?